What if the stories we've been told about angels are not the full truth? What if there were beings powerful, radiant, and terrifying that descended to earth, not to guide humanity, but to corrupt it? The Book of Enoch speaks of them, the Watchers. But here's the shocking part. This ancient book was banned from the Bible for centuries. Why? What knowledge was so dangerous that religious leaders decided humanity should never read it? Were the Watchers really angels? Or something far stranger? Did they only teach forbidden knowledge, or did they tamper with human DNA itself, giving rise to giants and Nephilim who once walked this earth? And here is a question most one dare to ask. Could the Watchers still be influencing our world today, hiding behind technology, secret societies, or even governments? Some say the Watchers are just myths. Others whisper that their presence is written in the skies, in monuments like the pyramids, and even in the bloodlines of kings and rulers. But if that's true, what are they preparing us for? Why do so many ancient texts, from Sumeria to the Bible, warn about a return of beings from above? Stay with me, because in this video we're going to uncover secrets that many would rather remain buried. The story of the Watchers is not just about the past. It may be the key to understanding humanity's future. And I promise you, what's coming next will shake everything you thought you knew about history, religion, and even reality itself. The Book of Enoch introduces us to one of the most mysterious groups of beings ever mentioned in ancient sacred texts, the Watchers. These are not just ordinary angels, but a unique class of celestial beings whose actions, choices, and rebellion shaped the destiny of humanity in ways that many people have never been told. Imagine a story so ancient, so hidden, that it was once excluded from the Bible, preserved only in fragments, and whispered about in traditions passed down for centuries. Who were these beings? Why were they called the Watchers? And what secrets did they hold that humanity was never meant to know? Today, we're diving into the incredible, controversial, and even terrifying mysteries of the Watchers in the Book of Enoch. But stay with me, because each part of this story builds on the next, and the deeper we go, the more secrets we uncover. If you think the introduction is fascinating, just wait until you hear about the forbidden knowledge they gave to mankind. Knowledge that changed the course of history forever. The Book of Enoch describes the Watchers as a group of 200 angels sent by God to watch over humanity. Their name, Watchers, comes from their divine purpose. They were supposed to observe, protect, and guide human beings. But like many great stories of rebellion, their mission took a dark turn. Instead of simply watching, they desired to walk among men and women. They were fascinated by humanity's beauty, creativity, and fragility. The text tells us that these mighty beings looked upon the daughters of men and were captivated. They lusted after them, and this attraction led to a decision that would alter not only their fate, but the fate of all creation. 200 angels, led by their chiefs, descended to earth, not to carry out God's will, but to pursue their own desires. And that's where everything begins to unravel. But this is just the beginning, because what they did after coming down to earth was even more shocking. According to the Book of Enoch, these Watchers swore an oath on Mount Hermon, binding themselves together in a pact. None of them wanted to face the punishment alone, so they agreed that they would all commit this sin together. This wasn't just a moment of weakness. This was an organized rebellion. Their leader, often named Semyaza or Shemyaza, convinced them to take the risk. But another name you'll hear is Aziz, a figure who would become infamous for introducing humanity to forbidden arts. When these beings descended, they not only took human women as wives, but they also taught mankind secrets from heaven knowledge humanity was never meant to have. They revealed mysteries about the stars, the earth, weapon making, enchantments, cosmetics, sorcery, and even the signs of the heavens. Imagine living in a world where suddenly divine knowledge is placed in human hands, not gradually, not carefully, but in a flood of secrets that humanity was not ready for. This is where the story takes a dangerous turn, because the knowledge that was meant to remain hidden became a weapon of corruption. But here's the most terrifying part. When the Watchers had children with the daughters of men, their offspring were not ordinary. They were giants, known as the Nephilim, towering beings who consumed everything in sight. Their hunger was insatiable, and when there was no food left, they turned on mankind. Picture a world where monstrous beings roamed the earth, where violence, chaos, and bloodshed became daily life. Humanity cried out under the weight of this oppression, and their cries reached the heavens. This was no longer just a rebellion of angels. It became a cosmic crisis. And if you think the Nephilim are frightening, wait until you hear how God responded to their existence. Because the punishment of the Watchers is one of the most chilling parts of the entire Book of Enoch. But before we get to their punishment, let's pause and ask, why would angels, beings created in perfection, risk everything for humanity? Some scholars suggest it was pride. Others say it was compassion twisted into desire. And some believe that the Watchers wanted to accelerate humanity's progress, making us more like gods. Remember, they taught forbidden knowledge. Think about the story of the Garden of Eden. The serpent promised Adam and Eve that eating the fruit would make them like God, knowing good and evil. The Watchers, in a sense, offered the same temptation, but in a far greater form. Secrets of heaven, the power of the stars, even the ability to forge weapons. It is no wonder many traditions link the Watchers' rebellion to the very origins of human corruption. And the more you look into it, the more you see connections between the Watchers, the fall of Satan, and the flood of Noah. And yes, that's right, the flood story is directly tied to the Watchers and their offspring. But more on that soon, because that's where things get even more mysterious. Now, let's talk about Azazel, one of the most infamous names in the Book of Enoch. This angel wasn't just any rebel. He was the one who taught men how to make swords, knives, shields, and breastplates. He introduced warfare, turning human hands into instruments of destruction. But that's not all. Azazel taught women the art of beautification makeup, jewelry, adornments, something that might sound innocent, but in the text, it is portrayed as a form of corruption, luring humanity deeper into sin. And if you think cosmetics sound harmless, consider how they were tied to seduction, lust, and the downfall of purity. To the ancients, these weren't just tools of beauty, they were tools of temptation. Azazel's influence became so severe that the Book of Enoch says all sin was ascribed to him. Imagine one being so corrupt, so responsible, that the blame for nearly all human wickedness was placed on his shoulders. And yet, Azazel wasn't alone. Other chiefs of the Watchers taught enchantments, astrology, and the cutting of roots, things we would today associate with witchcraft and occult practices. The knowledge of heaven became the curses of earth. But this leads us to the inevitable question. How did God respond? The cries of humanity rose to heaven, and the archangels Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel interceded. They saw the bloodshed, the corruption, and the destruction the Watchers had unleashed. In response, God ordered judgment. The archangels were sent to act. Raphael was told to bind Azazel's hand and foot, cast him into the desert, and cover him with jagged rocks until the day of judgment. Gabriel was commanded to destroy the Nephilim, setting them against each other in war until they wiped themselves out. Michael was instructed to bind the leader Samyaza and his fellow Watchers and cast them into the abyss, into dark pits beneath the earth, where they would remain until the final judgment. This is one of the most dramatic divine interventions in all of ancient literature. It shows not only the wrath of God, but also the seriousness of angelic rebellion. But here's the twist. While the Watchers were punished, their offspring, the Nephilim, left behind something far more haunting, their spirits. And these spirits, according to the Book of Enoch, did not die peacefully. When the Nephilim were destroyed, their bodies perished, but their spirits remained. These disembodied spirits, the text says, became what we know as demons, evil spirits that roam the earth, seeking to oppress, tempt, and harm mankind. Unlike angels, who are bound to heaven, or humans, who are bound to earth, these spirits are trapped in between, restless, violent, and eternally bitter. Think about that. The origin of demons, according to Enoch, comes not from fallen angels directly, but from the cursed offspring of angels and humans. This changes everything we thought we knew about spiritual warfare. It means that the world is still haunted by the consequences of the Watchers' rebellion thousands of years later. And if you thought this was just ancient myth, wait until you see how these ideas influenced later Jewish, Christian, and even Islamic traditions. The Watchers may be more connected to your faith history than you ever realized. And yes, the next part will reveal even more secrets about their influence in the Bible itself. The story of the Watchers doesn't just live in the Book of Enoch. It echoes throughout the Bible. For example, in Genesis 6, we read about the sons of God who came to the daughters of men and their children, the giants. This brief passage is a mirror of the much longer and more detailed story found in Enoch. Many early readers of the Bible would have immediately connected Genesis 6 with the Watchers. In fact, the reason for the great flood in Genesis is tied directly to this corruption. God saw that the earth was filled with violence and wickedness, much of it caused by the Nephilim, and chose to cleanse it with water. This means Noah's flood was not only about human sin, it was also about purging the corruption brought by the Watchers and their offspring. Suddenly, the flood takes on a whole new meaning. It wasn't just punishment for humans, but a cosmic reset to restore creation from angelic interference. And the deeper you dive into these texts, the more connections you'll see. But wait until you hear how the New Testament also refers back to this story. It will change how you read certain verses forever. In the New Testament, in books like 2 Peter and Jude, there are references to angels who sinned, who left their proper dwelling, and who are bound in chains of darkness until judgment. These short but powerful references are directly connected to the Watchers of Enoch. Jude even quotes from the Book of Enoch, mentioning the prophecy that Enoch gave against these beings. This shows that even in the early church, the story of the Watchers was not a fringe idea, but something known and influential. Some early Christians accepted Enoch as scripture, while others kept it at arm's length. But its fingerprints remain throughout the Bible. The Watchers, in a sense, are hidden in plain sight. Their rebellion explains the origin of demons, the reason for the flood, and even why the Messiah came to defeat the works of darkness. The more you connect these dots, the more the picture comes into focus. But we're still only scratching the surface, because the question remains, where are the Watchers now? And will they ever return? Some traditions suggest that the Watchers are still bound in the abyss, waiting for the final judgment. Others believe their influence continues through the demons, the spirits of their children. And some even claim that the Watchers will play a role in the end times, being released for a short period before the final destruction. Could the chaos and darkness we see in our world today be linked to the ancient rebellion of these angels? Could the wars, the corruption, the obsession with forbidden knowledge all trace back to the Watchers? These are the kinds of questions that make the Book of Enoch so fascinating, and why so many people today are turning back to these ancient writings for answers. And the deeper you go, the more you begin to wonder, was the exclusion of Enoch from the Bible an accident, or was it deliberate? Was this book hidden because its revelations were too dangerous, too controversial, too unsettling for the world to know? The next part of this journey will explore exactly that, the mystery of why the Book of Enoch disappeared from the canon and what secrets it might still be hiding even now. But if the Watchers were so important, why does the Bible only hint at them while the Book of Enoch goes into such incredible detail? This is where history itself gets interesting. You see, the Book of Enoch wasn't just some fringe text. For centuries, it was highly respected. In fact, the early church fathers like Tertullian and Justin Martyr openly quoted from it. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church still considers it part of their biblical canon to this very day. That means for millions of believers, Enoch is still scripture. Yet in the Western tradition, the book was rejected, hidden, and nearly forgotten until it was rediscovered in Ethiopia in the 18th century. Imagine that an entire book about the rebellion of angels, about the origins of demons, and about the secrets of heaven nearly erased from history. Why? Was it political? Was it theological? Or was it because the truths inside were simply too unsettling? Stick with me, because the deeper we explore, the more it looks like this book was suppressed because it reveals secrets that challenge the very boundaries of accepted doctrine. And in the next part, we're going to uncover how the Dead Sea Scrolls confirmed just how influential this mysterious book really was. When the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered in the caves of Qumran in 1947, scholars found fragments of the Book of Enoch among them. This was a game changer. It proved that Jewish communities living around the time of Jesus were reading and cherishing Enoch. That means Jesus himself, his disciples, and the early writers of the New Testament were familiar with these stories of the Watchers. Suddenly, those references in Jude and 2 Peter make even more sense. They weren't vague ideas. They were directly pulling from a tradition deeply rooted in the community. But here's the fascinating part. The Qumran community, often linked with the Essenes, believed they were living in the end times. They saw themselves as the righteous remnant, waiting for God's final judgment. To them, the Watchers were not just ancient history. They were cosmic proof that the world was already corrupted by forces of darkness. And if the Essenes believe that, it raises the question, are we living in days where the shadow of the Watchers still lingers? That's exactly where we're headed next, because the patterns of the past may be repeating in our time in ways few people realize. Consider this. The Watchers were cast into the abyss, their children destroyed, yet their legacy continues. The knowledge they gave humanity did not vanish. It spread, evolved, and became embedded in human culture. Look at ancient civilizations, Sumer, Egypt, Babylon, the Maya. Everywhere you turn, there are stories of gods descending from the heavens, teaching mankind advanced skills, and leaving behind hybrid offspring. Could these myths all point back to a single hidden truth, the rebellion of the Watchers? Ancient Mesopotamian texts speak of the Apkallu, wise beings who taught humanity skills like writing, irrigation, and architecture. The Greeks spoke of the Titans, massive beings born from divine unions who were eventually imprisoned in Tartarus. The parallels are striking. And the further you look, the clearer it becomes that the Watchers may not just be a Hebrew idea, but a global memory of a cosmic event that scarred the entire human race. And if that's true, then the next part will shake you even more, because it raises the possibility that humanity's greatest monuments, like the pyramids and megaliths, might be the fingerprints of forbidden knowledge left behind. What if the Watchers' teachings are still standing among us today? Now, let's take a closer look at Mount Hermon, the place where the Watchers descended. This mountain, located on the border of modern-day Israel, Lebanon, and Syria, is not just any mountain. In ancient times, it was regarded as a sacred and fearsome place, often associated with divine encounters. The Book of Enoch specifically names Mount Hermon as the site where the Watchers swore their oath. And here's the chilling detail. In ancient languages, Hermon is connected to the word meaning curse. So the very place where they descended became known as the Mountain of the Curse. Today, Mount Hermon is still shrouded in mystery. Legends say that supernatural activity surrounds it. Some even claim it has been a hotspot for unexplained phenomena. And here's where it gets even more intriguing. If the Watchers descended there, could it be that this mountain remains a spiritual gateway? A point of contact between heaven and earth? Archaeologists have even discovered ancient temples and shrines on Mount Hermon, suggesting that generations after the Watchers, people still associated it with divine or forbidden power. But wait until you hear how this connects to Jesus himself, because in the New Testament, something extraordinary happens not far from this very mountain. In the Gospels, we read about the transfiguration of Jesus, an event where Christ's glory was revealed to his disciples, and he shone brighter than the sun. Many scholars believe this took place on or near Mount Hermon. Think about that. The very mountain where the Watchers descended in rebellion may have been the mountain where Jesus revealed his divine authority. It's almost as if God staged a cosmic reversal. On the mountain of the curse, the Son of God declares victory over the powers of darkness. This isn't coincidence. It's symbolic warfare. The Watchers sought to corrupt mankind by stepping down on Hermon, but Christ stood on Hermon to reveal the true path to salvation. The spiritual irony is powerful, and the more you trace these connections, the more you see that nothing in Scripture is accidental. Every detail has layers. And the next layer we'll peel back is even more thrilling, because we're going to explore how the punishment of the Watchers links directly to the ultimate destiny of Satan himself. The binding of the Watchers in chains of darkness sounds hauntingly similar to prophecies about Satan as final fate. Revelation 20 speaks of the dragon being bound for 1,000 years before the final judgment. The imagery is strikingly familiar to what we read in Enoch. Could it be that the punishment of the Watchers was a foreshadowing, a preview of what will one day happen to Satan? If so, then their story is not just a historical account, but a prophetic pattern. The abyss, the chains, the final judgment, all of these are threads woven throughout the Bible. This pattern reveals something profound, that the story of the Watchers is a piece of the much larger battle between God and the forces of rebellion. And if this pattern holds true, then it means the Watcher's story is not finished. It is still unfolding. That brings us to one of the most mysterious and controversial questions. Could the Watchers return in the last days? Some traditions believe they will, that their release will trigger chaos, unlike anything the world has ever seen. And the next part will take us right into that chilling possibility, connecting prophecy with our present day. Fast forward to our modern era. We live in an age where knowledge has exploded beyond anything humanity has ever known. Science, technology, weaponry, genetic engineering, artificial intelligence. These are breakthroughs that sound eerily similar to the forbiddens, knowledge once given by the Watchers. Could it be that history is repeating itself? That humanity is once again grasping at knowledge that was never meant to be fully ours? Think about the parallels. Azazel taught men how to forge weapons, and today we have nuclear arms capable of destroying the world. The Watchers taught enchantments and sorcery, and today we see a revival of occult practices, astrology, and dark spirituality across the globe. They revealed secrets of the heavens, and now mankind is venturing into space, searching for answers among the stars. Is this mere coincidence, or is it the shadow of the Watchers whispering once again? The deeper you look, the harder it is to ignore. And the next step in this journey will take us even further, because some claim that the Watchers were not just spiritual beings, but that their story overlaps with something far stranger, ancient accounts of beings we might today call extraterrestrial. That's where things get truly mind-bending, and we're about to step into that mystery. But if the Watcher's shadow still lingers today, then we need to ask, are there traces visible not just in myths and scriptures, but in the stones and ruins that cover the earth? Many researchers believe the answer is yes. Think about the megaliths that still puzzle archaeologists. Massive stones moved with precision, thousands of years before modern machinery. From the Great Pyramid of Giza to the stone circles of Britain, from the giant statues of Easter Island to the Cyclopean walls of Peru, the question is the same. How did ancient people achieve this? Some point to the possibility that these civilizations were given forbidden knowledge, a remnant of what the Watchers taught. Imagine the angels revealing secrets of engineering, astronomy, and mathematics, planting seeds of wisdom that humans should never have held. And here is the mystery. Nearly every one of these ancient sites is aligned with the stars. The pyramids mirror Orion's belt. Stonehenge maps the solstices. The Mayan temples track Venus. Why this obsession with the heavens? Perhaps because the Watchers, once heavenly beings themselves, taught mankind to look upward, to worship the sky, to build monuments that echoed the realms above. And if that's true, then the ruins around us are not just relics of human achievement, but whispers of an angelic rebellion carved into the earth itself. And if you thought ancient ruins were fascinating, the next part will shock you even more, because evidence of giants may still be hidden beneath our feet. For centuries, stories of giants have circulated across the world. Native American legends speak of enormous beings that once roamed the land, beings so powerful that tribes had to band together to fight them. In South America, tales of towering warriors echo the Nephilim of the Bible. In Asia and Europe, myths of cyclopes and titans persist. And what makes this even more intriguing are the reports, often buried and dismissed, of giant skeletons discovered in the 19th and 20th centuries. Newspapers from that era describe bones of humans far taller than average, some said to be over 10 feet tall. Many of these accounts vanished quietly, raising suspicions that knowledge of giants was deliberately suppressed. Could these remains have been the children of the Watchers, the Nephilim themselves? If so, then the Book of Enoch wasn't myth, it was history. And if bones still lie buried in hidden vaults or forgotten caves, then the truth about the Watchers is far closer than we realize. But if giants once walked the earth, could they also walk again? That's the disturbing question we'll uncover next, because some prophecies suggest that in the end times, the days of Noah will return, and with them, perhaps, the return of the Nephilim. Jesus himself said, "As it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the Son of Man." This cryptic statement has fascinated scholars for centuries. What were the days of Noah like? According to Genesis and Enoch, it was a time of corruption, violence, and the presence of the Nephilim, the offspring of the Watchers. So when Jesus linked the last days to Noah's time, was he warning that the same kind of corruption would reappear? If so, then what would that look like? Could it be genetic manipulation, as scientists now experiment with DNA editing? Could it be artificial intelligence, humanity once again reaching into realms of knowledge not meant to be unlocked? Or could it be something even stranger, the reappearance of hybrid beings, as it was before the flood? These possibilities are not science fiction. They echo directly from the story of the Watchers. And if you think that's unsettling, the next part will shake you even further, because it connects the Watcher's story not only to prophecy, but also to modern phenomena that millions of people claim to witness even today. For decades, people across the globe have reported encounters with beings from the skies, what we call UFOs and aliens. Now pause and consider this. Ancient texts describe heavenly beings descending to earth, shining with otherworldly power, taking human wives, and teaching forbidden knowledge. Is it possible that the beings people describe today are connected to the same rebellion of old? Some researchers believe that what we now call extraterrestrials may not be visitors from another planet, but the same spiritual entities, the Watchers disguised in a new form. The parallels are uncanny. Abductions often involve genetic experimentation, echoing the hybridization of angels and humans in Enoch. Messages from these beings often push humanity toward new technology and occult practices, just like the forbidden teachings of the Watchers. Could it be that the ancient rebellion never ended, but simply changed its mask to fit a modern age? If that's the case, then UFOs are not just a mystery of science, but a spiritual war unfolding before our eyes. And the next part will take this even deeper, because some prophecies suggest that in the last days, there will be signs in the heavens unlike anything we've seen before. Could this be the ultimate unveiling of the Watchers? Now let's circle back to Scripture for a moment. In the book of Revelation, John describes demonic locusts released from the abyss in the last days. led by a king named Abaddon or Apollyon. This abyss, the very prison where the watchers were cast, opens again. Could Revelation be describing the moment when the watchers, bound in chains of darkness, are finally released? If so, then their return would not be as silent watchers, but as tormentors unleashed upon the world. This aligns with the idea that the final battle between good and evil will not just be among humans, but among cosmic powers. The watchers, once punished for their rebellion, may yet play a role in the last chapter of history. And here is the haunting part. Revelation says that men will seek death in those days, but will not find it. What kind of terror could drive humanity to that point? Perhaps the same terror that gripped the earth when the Nephilim roamed before the flood. But if you think Revelation is shocking, wait until we connect this to other ancient prophecies outside the Bible, because cultures around the world seem to be waiting for the same apocalyptic return. The Hopis speak of the star beings who will one day return. The Hindus anticipate a time of chaos before the avatar Kalki descends. The Norse myths foretell Ragnarok, when the imprisoned giants break free. Again and again, cultures describe a cycle where forbidden beings return at the end of the age. How is it possible that civilizations separated by oceans and centuries share the same expectation? The simplest explanation is that they all trace back to the same event, the descent of the Watchers and the memory of their judgment. If so, then humanity has been collectively waiting for their reappearance, whether they call them Watchers, Titans, or Star Gods. And here, as the most spine-chilling part, what if their return is not in the distant future, but already beginning? That's exactly where we're headed next, because when we look at the rise of strange supernatural encounters, shadowy figures in governments whispering about non-human intelligences, and the increasing obsession with unlocking forbidden knowledge, it begins to look like history is preparing to repeat itself. The question is, are we ready? But the more we uncover about the Watchers, the more we realize their influence may have stretched into areas we rarely suspect. Take secret societies, for example. Throughout history, groups have claimed to possess hidden knowledge passed down through the ages, guarded by a select few. From the ancient mystery schools of Egypt to the Knights Templar, from the Freemasons to the Rosicrucians, the central theme is always the same: secret wisdom that grants power. Where did this wisdom come from? Could it be that much of it traces back to the forbidden teachings of the Watchers? Imagine fragments of their knowledge preserved, hidden, and used by those who seek power over others. Some even suggest that modern technological breakthroughs are not just the result of human genius, but of ancient secrets resurfacing. And if you think that sounds unbelievable, the next part will surprise you even more, because evidence suggests that governments and elites may be deliberately reviving the knowledge of the Watchers for their own purposes. Consider how rapidly technology has advanced in the past century. We went from horse-drawn carriages to landing on the moon in less than a lifetime. We've split the atom, mapped the human genome, and are now experimenting with artificial intelligence that can outthink humans. Could it be that humanity is once again unlocking knowledge too powerful to control? The Book of Enoch warns of forbidden secrets, metalwork, enchantments, astrology. Yet in our era, those secrets take the form of nuclear weapons, genetic modification, and predictive algorithms. It's almost as if the same pattern is repeating, but on a scale the ancients could never imagine. And here is the most haunting question. Are we being helped along this path by unseen hands? Reports of inspiration, sudden leaps in knowledge, or mysterious encounters have shaped inventors and leaders. Could the Watchers or their lingering influence be whispering once again? If so, then the technologies we celebrate today may be the very tools that bring about the chaos of tomorrow. And the next part will connect this directly to prophecy, showing how our modern age mirrors the warnings of Scripture. The prophet Daniel wrote of a time when knowledge shall increase, and people would run to and fro across the earth. Many believe we are living in that time right now. Airplanes, cars, the internet, satellites, all signs of a restless humanity, seeking more, faster, greater. But here's the chilling detail. Daniel also describes strange kingdoms, part iron and part clay, that would not fully mix. Some scholars interpret this as nations, but others wonder if it hints at something deeper hybridity. Could it be describing the mixing of humanity with something else? Something not entirely human? Suddenly, the story of the Watchers and their hybrid offspring, the Nephilim, doesn't feel so distant. If our age is marked by increasing experiments in cloning, chimeras, and a high human integration, then perhaps Daniel's prophecy was pointing to a time when the boundaries of humanity would once again be tested. And if that's the case, then the days of Noah truly are returning. But this is only the beginning, because in the next part, we'll see how even our entertainment industry may be preparing humanity to accept the return of the Watchers. Think about the stories dominating movies, TV, and books today. Superheroes with divine powers, beings descending from the skies, hybrids with human and otherworldly traits. These are not random inventions. They echo ancient myths. In fact, they condition us to accept the idea of beings who are more than human, who break natural boundaries. Could it be that culture itself is preparing us for something? Imagine if the Watchers returned, how would people react? Would they fear them? Or would they celebrate them as gods, saviors, or advanced aliens? The more you examine it, the more it seems that humanity is being trained to embrace the same deception that corrupted mankind before the flood. And if media is playing that role, then it becomes clear. We read not just talking about myths, we read talking about a blueprint for the future. But the next part will dig even deeper, because archaeology itself may be hiding the truth that the Watchers left behind. Truth locked away beneath the sands and stones of ancient ruins. In Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, archaeologists uncovered tablets describing the Anunnaki heavenly beings who descended and gave mankind knowledge. In Egypt, hieroglyphs depict gods descending from the sky, bringing wisdom and technology. In Central America, the Maya and Aztecs spoke of feathered serpents, sky gods, who taught humanity. These stories are not isolated, they are global. And here is where it gets truly eerie. Many of these cultures describe a catastrophic flood that followed the age of these beings. Could it be that they were all remembering the same event? The rebellion of the Watchers, the rise of the Nephilim, and the judgment of God through the flood? If so, then archaeology is not just about ancient cities. It's about uncovering a suppressed chapter of cosmic history. And if history repeats itself, then perhaps archaeology is also a warning, pointing us toward the fate that awaits if humanity once again embraces forbidden knowledge. But if you think ancient ruins are fascinating, the next part will take you into even stranger territory, because legends suggest that some remnants of the Watchers are still hidden, waiting to be uncovered. Stories persist of hidden chambers beneath the Great Sphinx, of secret vaults in the Vatican, of lost libraries filled with knowledge that could rewrite history. Could these be the places where the secrets of the Watchers were hidden away, guarded by those who feared or desired their power? Some claim that discoveries have already been made, but suppressed from the public, perhaps because the truth would shatter our understanding of history and faith. Imagine if proof of the Watchers' descent, or evidence of Nephilim bones, were locked away in secret. What would that mean for religion, for science, for humanity's sense of identity? The silence around these mysteries may not be accidental, it may be deliberate. But silence only deepens curiosity, and curiosity leads us forward. And the next step will explore how modern-day rituals, practiced in secret by the powerful, may actually be attempts to summon or honor the Watchers once again. From the temples of the ancient world to modern gatherings of elites, rituals invoking strange powers have always existed. Some are cloaked in symbolism, others are open in their defiance. Blood sacrifices, summoning ceremonies, occult invocations, These echo the forbidden practices taught by the Watchers. Could it be that some groups today are still attempting to contact the same beings who once descended on Mount Hermon? If so, then the rebellion never truly ended. It simply went underground. And if these beings are invoked, what happens when they answer? The world may not be ready for what such rituals unleash. But the deeper truth is this: the Watchers may not need to return. They may never have fully left. And the next part will show why some traditions believe the Watchers are already influencing world events, steering humanity toward a final confrontation foretold in prophecy. But if rituals and hidden societies are still reaching out to these ancient powers, then we have to ask, what exactly are they hoping to gain? For some, it may be political control. For others, it may be spiritual authority. But for the most ambitious, it may be nothing less than immortality itself. The Watchers once revealed forbidden secrets to humanity knowledge of the heavens, metallurgy, enchantments. Could it be that their greatest secret, the one whispered only to a few, was how to cheat death? Across history, kings and emperors have searched for the elixir of life, the philosopher's stone, the fountain of youth. Alchemists worked in secret, claiming to transform base metals into gold, and to unlock eternal life. Was this pursuit simply fantasy, or was it fueled by fragments of knowledge that originated with the Watchers? If so, then the obsession with immortality is not just human, it is angelic. And if mankind is now on the edge of breakthroughs in cloning, genetic engineering, and mind uploading, then perhaps we are once again stepping into the very same trap that led to destruction in the days of Noah. But if immortality is the prize, the next part will uncover the even darker price humanity may have to pay for it. Consider this. What if immortality for humans comes at the cost of humanity itself? The Watchers blurred the lines between heaven and earth, between divine and mortal, creating offspring that were neither fully human nor fully angelic. Today, transhumanist movements dream of a future where man fuses with machine, where biology is rewritten, where consciousness can be uploaded into digital realms. It sounds futuristic, but it also sounds eerily similar to the corruption that triggered the flood. If the image of God in man is distorted beyond recognition, then what is left? Could this be the ultimate deception of the Watchers? To convince mankind that in order to live forever, we must first give up our humanity? The more you think about it, the more it feels like the same rebellion is resurfacing in new clothes. And if that is true, then the next part will take us to an even deeper mystery: the role of the Watchers in the rise and fall of empires. Throughout history, empires have risen to unimaginable heights and then collapsed into dust. Babylon, Persia, Greece, Rome all followed the same cycle. But what fueled their rise? Ancient kings often claimed they were chosen by the gods. Some even described encounters with divine beings who granted them wisdom and authority. Nimrod, the mighty hunter of Genesis, is one such figure. He founded Babel, the city that would later build a tower reaching toward the heavens. Some traditions suggest Nimrod was more than human, that he himself was a hybrid, empowered by knowledge beyond mortal capacity. Could it be that the Watchers influenced not only individuals, but entire nations, guiding them toward idolatry, conquest, and rebellion against God? If so, then history itself is the battlefield where humanity and the Watchers collide. And the ruins of these empires stand as silent witnesses to their influence. But if past empires were shaped by Watcher influence, then what about modern superpowers? The next part will explore how the fingerprints of the Watchers may be seen, even in today, as world stage. Think of the symbols on our currencies, the architecture of our capitals, the hidden messages in our monuments. The all-seeing eye, the pyramid, the winged sun, the obelisk, these are not random designs. They are echoes of ancient symbols tied to heavenly beings and their forbidden knowledge. Washington, D.C., London, Paris, Rome all are filled with monuments that trace back to Egypt, Babylon, and Greece. Why would modern nations build their cities with the same imagery as the ancient empires that once rebelled against God? Could it be that the same spiritual forces influencing those empires are still at work today? If so, then our modern world is not as modern as we think it is, simply repeating the ancient patterns of the Watchers. And if those patterns are being replayed, then we may be closer to their final return than we realize. But before we get to that, the next part will reveal something even more unsettling: how the Watchers may be connected to the rise of false religions throughout history. Look at the pantheons of gods worshipped across the world: Zeus, Odin, Osiris, Quetzalcoatl, Shiva. Different names, different cultures, but remarkably similar roles: sky gods, creators, warriors, bringers of knowledge. Could these deities actually be distorted memories of the Watchers, worshipped by mankind as gods after their rebellion? The Book of Enoch describes how the Watchers taught humanity sorcery, astrology, and charms practices that became the foundation of many pagan religions. Suddenly, idol worship takes on a new meaning. It is not just human imagination, but devotion to beings who once walked the earth in defiance of God. And if that is true, then false religion is not simply human error, it is the lingering influence of angelic rebellion. This sheds new light on why the Bible warns so strongly against idolatry. It was never just about stone statues. It was about turning back to the very beings that corrupted mankind in the first place. But if ancient religion was rooted in the Watchers, then the next part will take us to something even more personal: the possibility that their influence extends not just to nations and religions, but to individuals today. Have you ever wondered why so many people across cultures describe encounters with shadowy figures, sleep paralysis beings, or voices whispering forbidden knowledge? Could it be that these are not mere hallucinations, but remnants of the Watchers' children, the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim? Remember, the Book of Enoch says their spirits became the demons that roam the earth. If so, then every spiritual attack, every demonic possession, every whisper of temptation may trace back to the same rebellion. The Watchers may be chained, but their legacy continues through their offspring. And this means the battle we face is not only cosmic, it is personal. But if that feels heavy, the next part will lift the veil even further, because it connects directly to the ultimate destiny of these beings, as foretold in prophecy. The Book of Revelation describes a final judgment when the abyss is opened and terrible beings are released upon the earth. It also describes a lake of fire where Satan, his angels, and all forces of rebellion are cast forever. Could it be that the Watchers, who have waited bound in darkness for millennia, will face this final destruction? And if so, then their story is not yet finished. It is waiting for its last chapter. But what if their final attempt at influence comes before that judgment? What if they are allowed one last opportunity to deceive mankind, to unleash chaos, to repeat the corruption of Noah's days? If that is true, then humanity may be standing on the edge of the same storm that once wiped the world clean. And the next part will show just how close we may be, by connecting these ancient prophecies with the very events unfolding around us today. But if prophecy warns us that the days of Noah will return, then what signs should we expect to see in our own time? One of the most chilling possibilities is the rise of hybrid creatures once more, not through angelic intervention this time, but through mankind's own science. Today, scientists are experimenting with gene splicing, animal-human hybrids, and artificial intelligence that mimics consciousness. What was once condemned as forbidden knowledge is now pursued openly in laboratories. Could this be the same path walked long ago, when the Watchers blurred the boundary between heaven and earth? If so, we may be watching history repeat itself in real time. And if history is repeating, then the next one will be even more interesting, because it points us to the strange connections between the ancient flood and modern global catastrophes. When Noah stepped off the ark, he entered a world that had been wiped clean, a new beginning. But throughout history, nations have feared and prepared for global cataclysms, whether through myths of floods, fire, or ice. Nearly every ancient culture carries a story of destruction followed by rebirth. The Mayans foresaw cycles of creation. The Norse spoke of Ragnarok, the Hindus of endless yugas. Could it be that these aren't just cultural imaginations, but collective memories echoing the same truth, that the Watcher's corruption brought destruction once, and that something similar may return again? Scientists warn us of rising seas, extreme weather, earthquakes, and celestial threats. Yet these warnings sound eerily like the ancient texts that foretold divine judgment. If mankind ignored the warnings in the past, will we repeat the same mistake again? But if natural disasters are part of the pattern, the next one will take us deeper, because it is not just the earth that testifies, but the heavens themselves. Look up at the stars. For centuries, mankind has read the skies, not just for navigation, but for signs. The Bible itself says the heavens declare the glory of God, but the Watchers twisted this knowledge into astrology, teaching humans to worship the stars rather than the Creator. Yet even today, we find mysterious alignments in the heavens' blood moons falling on biblical feast days, rare planetary conjunctions, eclipses cutting across nations at key moments. Are these random, or are they warnings, repeating patterns that the ancients once understood? If the Watchers corrupted humanity by turning the skies into an object of worship, then perhaps prophecy is hidden in plain sight, written above us for those with eyes to see. But if the stars are whispering, then the next one will reveal something even more shocking, the possibility that the very locations of ancient monuments were chosen with the stars in mind. Think about the pyramids of Egypt, aligned perfectly with Orion's belt. Consider Stonehenge, charting the solstices. Look at the Mayan temples, which track the equinoxes and the motion of Venus. Why would civilizations thousands of miles apart build massive stone monuments that mirror the heavens? Could it be that the same knowledge, passed down by the Watchers, influenced cultures across the globe? And if so, then the monuments of Earth are not just tombs or temples. They are signposts, messages left by those who once walked among men. This would mean that archaeology itself is not simply digging into human history, but uncovering the remnants of angelic rebellion. And if monuments are aligned to the stars, then the next one will show us how those stars are tied directly to prophecy yet to be fulfilled. The book of Revelation speaks of signs in the sun, moon, and stars before the great and terrible day of the Lord. Imagine for a moment if the heavens are a clock, and perhaps the Watchers once knew how to read its timing, and perhaps that is why they sought to manipulate humanity at precise moments in history. Today, astronomers can predict eclipses, comets, and conjunctions with stunning accuracy. But ancient texts suggest that some of these alignments mark not just natural events, but supernatural turning points. Could it be that even now, the clock is counting down towards something humanity cannot stop? And if the heavens are counting down, then the next one will push us into a territory even more mysterious, the connection between the Watchers and the hidden underground world. Beneath our feet lie caves, tunnels, and entire underground cities built by ancient hands. From the catacombs of Rome to the vast Derinku in Turkey, humans have always sought refuge below the surface. But why? Some myths tell of gods and demigods retreating into the underworld, while others describe beings imprisoned beneath the earth. Could these be echoes of the Watchers who were cast into the depths, bound in chains of darkness until judgment? Modern reports of strange sounds coming from the earth, unexplained underground bases, and sightings of beings emerging from caves all fuel the possibility that something ancient and forbidden may still be hidden below. And if the underground holds secrets, then the next one will shock us even more, because it connects the Watchers not only to the earth and sky, but to the oceans themselves. The book of Revelation speaks of a beast rising from the sea, and ancient myths around the world tell of serpent-like gods who dwelled in the depths of the waters. From Leviathan in the Bible to Tiamat in Mesopotamia, from the sea dragons of Norse legend to the feathered serpents of Mesoamerica, the oceans are filled with stories of terrifying, otherworldly beings. Could these tales be distorted memories of the Nephilim giants, not only on land, but in the waters? Marine archaeologists have discovered ruins submerged deep beneath the wave structures off the coast of Japan, India, and the Mediterranean that suggest advanced civilizations now drowned. What if these were the cities of the corrupted world before the flood, now buried by judgment waters? If so, then the oceans may be keeping the greatest secrets of all, secrets humanity is only beginning to rediscover. And if the sea holds mysteries, then the next one will be even more extraordinary. It will reveal how the watchers may be connected to the future of technology and artificial intelligence itself. And if the oceans themselves hide forbidden truths, then we must ask, what if the mysteries beneath the waves are not just physical ruins, but also spiritual gateways? Many ancient traditions believed the seas were thresholds between worlds, where beings could travel between realms. Even the Bible describes the abyss, the bottomless pit from which dark forces emerge. Could it be that some of the watchers or their offspring were not merely destroyed, but sealed away in watery prisons until the appointed time? Modern sightings of strange lights beneath the sea, accounts of unidentified submerged objects moving at impossible speeds, and legends of aquatic beings all hint that the oceans may still be inhabited by something beyond human comprehension. But if the sea conceals locked-away powers, then the next one will be even more fascinating, because it leads us into the question of whether these ancient beings have already begun to influence modern technology in ways we cannot see. Think about this. Humanity today is building machines that learn, adapt, and make decisions independent of us. Artificial intelligence is rapidly evolving, almost as though knowledge is pouring into humanity faster than ever before. Is it possible that the same forbidden knowledge once taught by the Watchers is now resurfacing through modern invention? Some researchers believe that inspiration for sudden leaps in technology, electricity, the atom, computing, even genetics came not from gradual human progress alone, but from flashes of insight as the whispers of ancient knowledge had returned. What if those whispers are not random? What if they are directed, nudging humanity once again toward crossing boundaries that should not be crossed? And if the Watchers once fell for teaching forbidden arts, what will happen if mankind repeats the same mistake in the digital age? But if technology is the new forbidden fruit, then the next one will be even more intriguing, because it connects directly to prophecy about an end time system of control unlike anything the world has ever seen. The Book of Revelation speaks of a time when no one can buy or sell without a mark, a system that tracks and governs all of humanity. In ancient days, the Watchers taught humans sorcery, enchantments, and secrets that enslaved mankind spiritually. Could today's rapid march toward digital surveillance, biometric IDs, and global networks be the modern reflection of those same ancient manipulations? Imagine for a moment, what if technology is not neutral, but infused with the very same rebellious spirit that corrupted mankind in the days of Noah? If so, then our devices, our systems, and our very dependency on the digital realm may be the next stage in mankind as entanglement with the forbiddens. And if prophecy points to such a system, then the next one will lead us into an even darker possibility, that the Nephilim, the hybrid offspring of the Watchers, may not have vanished forever, but could return in a new form. The giants of old described as mighty, terrifying, and corrupt beyond imagination were said to have been destroyed by the flood. But fragments of their existence linger in myths, in archaeological anomalies, and in whispers of hidden bones that vanish when discovered. Could it be that their spirits, restless and condemned, became the demons that plague mankind to this day? If the Nephilim spirits were left to wander, then possession, oppression, and temptation may all trace back to the Watcher's offspring. Yet some prophecies suggest something even more shocking, that in the last days, these beings may rise again, not just as spirits, but in physical form. Could modern genetic engineering, cloning, or other sciences provide the very means for their return. And if such a resurrection of ancient giants is possible, then the next one will be even more extraordinary, because it suggests the Watchers' rebellion was never about knowledge alone, but about reshaping humanity itself. From the very beginning, mankind was made in the image of God. That image carries dignity, purpose, and eternal value. But the Watchers sought to corrupt that image, twisting mankind into something that blurred the line between human and divine. The Nephilim were not merely giants. They were living proof that the image of man could be altered. Fast forward to today. Scientists openly discuss transhumanism, the merging of man and machine, the altering of DNA to enhance strength, intelligence, or longevity. What once belonged to the myths of the Watchers is now pursued in laboratories under the name of progress. Could this be humanity unknowingly fulfilling the same rebellion all over again? And if the image of God is corrupted once more, will judgment follow as it did in the days of Noah? But if mankind is on the edge of altering its very nature, then the next one will lead us to a question more mysterious. Still, who benefits from this corruption? And why has it been repeated across history? History shows us empires rising and falling, yet in every age we see shadows of the same pattern. Rulers who demand worship, systems that enslave, and corruption that spreads from the top down. Ancient kings, pharaohs, and emperors were often depicted as semi-divine, claiming descent from the gods. Could this be the lingering influence of the Watchers, passed down through bloodlines, through secret knowledge, through occult traditions guarded by a chosen few? Even today, powerful families and secret societies are accused of guarding hidden wisdom, influencing governments, and shaping the destiny of nations. Are these simply conspiracy theories, or do they point back to the same ancient rebellion that began when the Watchers defied heaven? And if the rulers of this world have indeed inherited the same spirit, then the next one will be even more startling, because it ties the Watchers not only to the past and present, but to the final great deception that prophecy warns will sweep across the whole earth. But if the rulers of this world have indeed inherited the same spirit, then we must ask, what kind of deception is so great that it could ensnare nearly the entire human race? Ancient prophecies describe a time when signs and wonders will deceive even the elect, if possible. The Watchers once dazzled humanity with forbidden knowledge, and their hybrid offspring became the living embodiment of corrupted power. Could the final deception be nothing less than the return of these same forces, this time masquerading not as rebels against heaven, but as saviors of mankind? Imagine a scenario where humanity, desperate for answers to crises like climate change, pandemics, or wars, suddenly encounters beings who claim to come from the stars. They present themselves as advanced, benevolent, offering solutions to all of our problems. But what if these so-called saviors are none other than the Watchers in disguise, returning to finish what they began in the days of Enoch? And if the deception includes appearances from beings of light, then the next one will be even more fascinating, because it takes us into the question of why so many UFO encounters echo the same themes found in ancient texts. Throughout history, from the fiery chariots of Ezekiel's visions to the Vimanas of ancient India, humanity has recorded encounters with flying craft, luminous beings, and otherworldly visitors. Modern UFO accounts often describe entities that deliver messages of unity, peace, and a new world order language strikingly similar to the seductive promises of the Watchers. And notice how these beings never affirm the creator of heaven and earth, but instead elevate themselves as guides of humanity. Could it be that what we now call aliens are not extraterrestrials at all, but the same ancient spiritual rebels who once descended upon Mount Hermon? If so, the supposed disclosure by governments around the world may not be preparing us for contact with distant civilizations, but priming us for the same deception that ensnared humanity long ago. But if UFOs are tied to the Watchers, then the next one will lead us into something far more chilling: the role of bloodlines and sacrifices in maintaining their influence across the ages. Ancient cultures across the globe practiced blood rituals, often under the guidance of gods or celestial beings. From the Aztec temples dripping with blood to the secret rites of the Near East, sacrifices were believed to feed or empower the divine. The Book of Enoch tells us that the Watchers devoured mankind, bringing violence and corruption upon the earth. What if the blood rituals of history were not merely symbolic, but literal sustenance for the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, who roam as demons hungry for power? Even in modern times, whispers of hidden sacrifices within secret societies, cults, or criminal networks suggest that the hunger of these entities has not disappeared. Could the persistence of such practices be the proof that the Watcher's influence still lingers in our world today? And if blood is still being spilled to empower dark forces, then the next one will take us into an even darker revelation, the manipulation of dreams and visions by the very same beings who once defied heaven. Dreams have always fascinated humanity. Prophets and sages received messages through them, and cultures built entire religions on visions from beyond. But what if dreams can also be hijacked? The Watchers were masters of secrets, including enchantments and sorceries, which may have enabled them to communicate through the dream realm. Demonic oppression today often begins with nightmares, strange visions, or sleep paralysis experiences that mirror ancient accounts of visitations. Could the Watchers still be reaching into the human subconscious, planting ideas, whispering temptations, or even inspiring works of art and innovation? The persistence of recurring symbol serpents, winged beings, shining lights across thousands of years suggests something more than coincidence. If dreams are still a battleground, then the next one will be even more captivating, because it asks whether humanity's greatest stories, myths, and even religions were shaped by these ancient intrusions. Consider how many mythologies feature gods descending from the heavens, mating with mortals, and producing heroes or demigods. From Hercules in Greece to Gilgamesh in Mesopotamia, the echoes of the Nephilim ripple through every culture. Were these simply imaginative tales, or historical memories of the same corrupted unions described in the Book of Enoch? If so, then perhaps the Watchers were not confined to a single location or culture, but spread their influence across the entire globe. Their fingerprints can be found in monuments too massive for simple human construction, in alignments of sacred sites with celestial patterns, and in oral traditions that survived for millennia. But if myths and monuments preserve their story, then the next one will reveal something even more unsettling: the possibility that the Watcher's plan was never fully destroyed, but is still unfolding in hidden ways that converge in our time. The flood may have wiped the earth clean, but fragments of the Watcher's knowledge endured. From the mysteries of Babylon to the wisdom of Egypt, echoes of forbidden teachings shaped the course of civilizations. Secret schools of mystery arose, claiming access to knowledge passed down from the gods. Could it be that every major empire carried within it the seed of that rebellion, passed from generation to generation, waiting for the right moment to bloom again? If the Watchers' original goal was to corrupt and enslave mankind, then perhaps their strategy has always been long-term, stretching from ancient times to the modern era. And if their influence has been patiently weaving through history, then the next one will be even more mind-shaking, because it suggests that the climax of their rebellion is not behind us, but directly ahead. We've now traveled through mysteries hidden for thousands of years, from the Watchers descending on Mount Hermon, to the forbidden knowledge they unleashed, the rise of the Nephilim, the echoes in mythologies and monuments, the possibility of their return in modern disguises, and even their influence on dreams, bloodlines, and hidden societies. All of these pieces connect like a puzzle, revealing a story so much bigger than most people ever imagine. But remember, this is only the beginning. The deeper we go, the more shocking it becomes, and the next part will uncover secrets that make today as revelations seem like just the surface of the ocean. And now, I want to hear from you. What part of this journey struck you the most? Do you believe the Watchers are still influencing our world today? Or do you think humanity has left their shadow behind? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'll be reading them, and your insights might even shape the next episode. If this video opened your eyes, don't forget to hit that like button so more people can discover the truth that has been hidden for centuries. Make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because you do not want to miss what's coming next. And of course, share this with a friend who loves diving into mysteries of the Bible, history, and the unseen. The story isn't over, not even close. What is coming in the next one will reveal secrets far deeper than you've ever heard before.